Hello, I'm Alex. I'm 24 years old and work in marketing. Until recently, my life was fairly straightforward. I rent a modest apartment, work hard at my job, and do my best to keep up with the bills. But a while back, things started falling apart. Rent prices in the city skyrocketed. My roommate bailed, and I was drowning in expenses I couldn't manage. That's when my friend Austin stepped in. "Why don't you stay at my place for a while? My parents won't mind." I didn't hesitate. Austin's been like a brother since college. We played on the same football team, stayed close over the years, and never lost touch. So I took him up on the offer, packed my things, and moved into the guest room at his family's suburban home. His dad was rarely around, always traveling for work. His mom, though, was there. Her name was Carolyn. I remembered her from when she'd pick Austin up after practice. She always carried herself with a quiet elegance, blonde hair, bright blue eyes, a confident demeanor that turned heads. But I hadn't seen her in years. And when I moved in, I figured she'd give a polite welcome and carry on with her life. I was wrong. On my second day, Austin was out, and I was in the kitchen making coffee. Carolyn walked in wearing a soft gray robe that nearly reached her knees, her hair still damp from the shower. I tried not to stare, but she looked stunning. "Morning," she said casually, like it was any other day. "I was hoping you hadn't left yet." She explained she needed to move a box of decorations from the garage to the attic, but it was too heavy to carry alone. I nodded. "Of course I'll help." We went to the garage. The bow wasn't that heavy, but I played along. I followed her up the stairs. When we reached the attic access, she turned and gave me a warm smile. "I'll pretend you're just helping," she said, but the way she said it, soft, with a slight twist to her lips, felt different. We both knew this was more than moving a box, like something had quietly shifted between us. I didn't say anything, just handed her the box at the top. I couldn't stop thinking about that smile. Dito. Later that night, Austin came home, and everything seemed normal. We ate dinner, watched an over-the-top action movie, and laughed like usual. Still, the attic moment stuck with me. Her tone, her look, the way she said it kept replaying in my head. The next morning, she asked for help again. A curtain rod in her bedroom was loose. Austin was already at work. I was in the kitchen in gym shorts and a tank top, sipping water when she walked in. She was fully dressed, but there was something in her expression. When I stepped into her room, I felt it again, that quiet tension in the air. I climbed the stepladder to fix the rod. When I turned around, she was standing there, close, too close. She looked at me and said, "I've been alone in this house longer than you probably realize." I didn't move. Neither did she. "You don't strike me as someone who minds being alone," I said. She smiled. "You might be surprised. That was it. No touch, no kiss, just another shift, another moment added to what was clearly building. I could tell this wasn't a game for her, and I wasn't treating it like one either. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling for hours. This wasn't just a passing crush. Whatever was happening had weight, and the reckless part of me wanted to see where it would lead. Baita. One Thursday night, everything went from maybe to certain. Austin had a date with a girl he'd met at the gym. He left around 6, casually dressed, saying, "Don't wait up." By 7, the house was quiet, perfectly still. Carolyn walked into the kitchen as I was making a sandwich, wearing black pants and a silky beige sweater that fit her perfectly. She looked tired but effortlessly beautiful. "Not much of a cook, huh?" she said with a smile, leaning against the counter. I grinned. "Not unless sandwiches count." She walked over, poured herself a glass of wine. "Well, they're better than nothing." "Want one?" I'm not big on wine, but I nodded. We sat in the living room on opposite ends of the couch. The TV was on, but neither of us paid attention. We just talked first about random things. Austin's funny childhood stories, her job at a local nonprofit, how tired she'd been lately. Her voice was calm, steady, but there was something beneath it, something heavy, something she didn't quite say. Taisim. She stared at her glass for a long time, then asked, "Do you ever feel like you're just surviving?" I looked at her directly. "All the time." She turned fully toward me. "I've been married for 21 years, Alex. 22 years. How many of those made me feel like I had a real partner?" I didn't answer. I didn't need to. She gave a soft laugh. "Sorry, I'm not even sure why I'm saying this. I probably shouldn't." "It's okay," I said. "You don't have to pretend around me." She looked at me for a long time, then stood. "Can you help me with something upstairs?" she asked, casual on the surface, but I heard the shift underneath. We went up. Her bedroom was dimly lit, a soft yellow glow from a lamp by the bed. She pointed to the dresser. The top drawers jammed again. I gave it a tug. It slid open easily. It wasn't stuck. We both knew it. Posiwam. I turned around and she was just steps away, arms crossed. Not like she was guarding herself, but like she was holding something back. Her breathing wasn't quite steady. I spoke before I could stop myself. Carolyn, maybe we should stop, whatever this is, before it really starts. She didn't move. Do you want to stop? She asked. I didn't answer. She stepped closer. Because I don't. We stood there not touching, but with barely any space between us. I could feel the warmth of her skin, the weight of what we didn't say. Then she kissed me. It wasn't rushed, wasn't dirty or wild. It was slow, intentional, real. When I kissed her back, I didn't hold back, didn't question it. I just let it happen. Her hands ran along my arms. Mine found her waist. She gently pulled me toward the bed, but stopped, her fingertips resting lightly on my chest. Alex, she whispered, I'm not drunk. I'm not confused. I know exactly what I'm doing. I know I told her. So do I. We didn't say anything after that. That night changed everything. It wasn't just about sex, wasn't a reckless mistake driven by boredom or alcohol. It was deliberate, intense, the culmination of years buried under routine, a loveless marriage under silence. For me, it was electric, risky, unlike anything I'd ever felt. I slipped out of her room around 2 in the morning, tiptoeing down the hallway barefoot, like I hadn't just crossed a line I couldn't uncross. The house was still. Austin's door was closed. My heart pounded like I'd run a mile. I lay in the guest bed staring at the ceiling and realized something shocking. I didn't feel guilty. I was already looking forward to the next time. Tomorrow. This thing between us quickly became a pattern. At first, it was small things, quick glances in the kitchen, brushing fingertips when passing the salt. But beneath those fleeting moments was a secret heavy enough to defy gravity. We got really good at hiding it. Carolyn was always composed and control, but the moment Austin left the house, even for a short while, that calm vanished, and so did mine. One night when Austin had to work late, Carolyn texted me, I'm making tea. Want some? That meant he was gone. Come upstairs. I waited a few minutes before going up. She was sitting on the edge of the bed barefoot, her sweater slipping off one shoulder. She handed me a mug, but I didn't take a sip. I set it on the nightstand and kissed her. We didn't talk much those nights. Maybe that made it feel more intense. It wasn't about fantasy or pretending, it was about quiet, about comfort, about being seen without having to explain. In the mornings, we'd sit at the kitchen table after Austin left the house, slowly waking up. Her foot would brush mine under the table like nothing had happened the night before. We'd talk about books, politics, her nonprofit work. I was captivated by her. But it wasn't all easy. The guilt was always there, just under the surface. One night after we'd been together again, she lay on her side, staring at me like she was trying to memorize my face. I've never done anything like this before, she said quietly. I nodded. Me neither. I'm not ashamed, she whispered. Pausing, but I'm scared. Of what I asked. How easy this is, she said. And it was. That's what made it so dangerous. No drama, no games, just this pull between us that rewrote all the usual rules, morals, logic, consequences. They felt distant, like we were in our own little world where none of it mattered. But time doesn't stop and the rules don't disappear. One afternoon, Austin came home early. I just left Carolyn's room fully dressed, thank God, when I heard the front door slam. My heart nearly leapt out of my chest. I darted down the hall and into the kitchen like I'd just come from the bathroom. Yo, man, Austin called from the door. What's up? I forced a grin. Not much, just chilling. He had no clue. Carolyn didn't come downstairs the rest of the day. Later that night, she texted me from another room. We need to be more careful, I replied. Yeah, I agree. But being more careful didn't mean stopping. One Saturday, her husband showed up unexpectedly. He wasn't supposed to be back for days. I was on the porch when I saw his car pull into the driveway. I slipped inside quickly and glanced at Carolyn. Her eyes widened. For the first time, she looked truly scared. We didn't talk that night. We didn't see each other for 3 whole days. During those days, something hit me. Something that both terrified and thrilled me. I missed her. Not just her, but us. I realized the deeper we got, the messier it became. Austin and I had been friends for years. I was living in the same house as her husband. Every move we made could ruin more lives than just ours. Still, we didn't stop. Another night, another kiss, another quiet question in the dark. If I were single, would you stay? I couldn't bring myself to answer. She didn't push, but that question lingered. What we had wasn't just heated and hidden, it was starting to carry real emotional weight. I could feel it in how she looked at me like she needed me and how she said she hadn't felt alive in years until now. She kissed me like it was her last. I guess I was falling for her. Maybe I already had. Duh. One morning I woke with a strange pressure in my chest, like something was wrong, but I couldn't pinpoint why. I lay there staring at the ceiling of the guest room, knowing something was off. Carolyn hadn't texted me in days. No good mornings, no subtle looks over breakfast, no, "Hey, can you help upstairs?" with that smile that meant more than it should. Just silence, heavy, cold, uncomfortable silence. I tried to tell myself she was just playing it safe, maybe tired, maybe Austin was around more, maybe she needed space. But deep down I knew better. I'd gotten to know Carolyn too well. I knew her habits, her mannerisms, the way she acted like everything was fine when it wasn't. I could feel it, whatever we had was slipping. One Friday, Austin left for a weekend hiking trip with relatives. He was out the door by morning. I sat in the kitchen, waiting for a text, a visit, a sign, anything. Nothing came. After a while, I couldn't stay still. I crept upstairs, each step feeling too loud. Her bedroom door was closed. I stood there, hand raised to knock, then did. She opened it seconds later, makeup hair tied back in an old sweater and jeans. She didn't look like she usually did when we were alone. She didn't smile, didn't seem surprised. She just stepped aside and said, "Come in." Um, I walked in, though the air felt still, the room colder. We sat on the edge of her bed, close but not touching. There was a long, painful silence. Then she said it, "I think we need to stop." She didn't sugarcoat it, didn't ease into it, just dropped it hard and fast. I sat there, nodding slowly like I'd seen this coming 1,000 times because I had. "I get it," I said quietly. I figured. Carolyn looked down at her hands, fingers twisting together like she was trying to ground herself. "Someone's going to get hurt," she said softly, "and it won't just be us." "I know," I said. And I did, but knowing didn't make it hurt less. She kept talking like she needed to get it all out before losing her nerve. "I didn't expect this, Alex. I wasn't looking for it. I didn't plan it." I turned to her. "Neither did I." She took a shaky breath. "I care about you maybe more than I should," she said, her voice hushed, "but we're playing with fire here." "You know that." "I know," I told her. "I'm tired of sneaking around, tired of lying," she went on. "Every time I look at Austin and even my husband, he barely notices me, but he's still my husband." She wasn't crying, but her voice cracked just enough to hit me in the gut. "I'm not ashamed of what happened," she said quietly. "I needed to feel something again, and you gave that back to me. You reminded me I'm still alive." She paused, then added, "But we can't keep this up. We can't pretend there's no cost." Become. I nodded, my throat too tight to speak, so I just sat there listening, trying to hold it together. Then she turned to me, really turned, and asked, "Do you regret it?" I didn't hesitate, not for a second. "No." She nodded, her eyes soft. "Good, because I don't either. I want to end this before it turns bitter, before we get caught, before it ruins everything." That hit hard, not anger, just the weight of knowing she was right. I stood, and so did she. We walked to the door together. She opened it, but didn't step aside right away. Her hand lingered like she wanted to touch my face or take my hand or say something else, but she didn't. "Promise me one thing," she said. "Anything," I replied. "If you ever look back on this, don't feel guilty. Remember it for what it was." I swallowed hard. "I promise." Then I walked out, no final look, no final words. I just went down those stairs with a knot in my throat and a storm in my chest. That night I packed my things. I told Austin I'd found a cheap studio downtown, that I needed my own space again. He didn't ask many questions. Maybe he sensed something, maybe he didn't want to know. I moved out the next morning. She wasn't there when I left, and that was it. Or it was supposed to be. Nearly a year passed. I hadn't seen her, hadn't heard from her. My heart broke as I walked out with my bag slung over my shoulder, not having spoken since that morning. At first, I thought about her constantly, a song on the radio, someone with blonde hair passing by on the street. But over time, it faded to a low hum in the background, soft enough that I could pretend I wasn't listening for it anymore. I moved on, at least on the surface. I got my own place, took on extra freelance clients, dated a few people here and there, but nothing serious, nothing that stuck. Um, then one Saturday afternoon, I walked into a small bistro I'd never been to. I had time to kill before a meeting. I ordered a black coffee, sat down, and scrolled through my phone. Then I heard it not. Hey, not, excuse me, just Alex, I knew. I looked up and there was Carolyn. She hadn't changed much, maybe a little worn around the eyes like life had weighed on her, but she still had that quiet grace, that warm confidence I'd never forget. She wore a long beige coat over a black turtleneck, her hair pulled back effortlessly. Whoa, I said, standing too quickly. Hi. Hi, she replied with a hesitant smile. Mind if I sit? I gestured to the chair across from me. Of course. She set her purse down and folded her hands in her lap. There was a long silence, not awkward, just full. I didn't expect to run into you, she said. Same here, I replied. I didn't know you came to this side of town. I usually don't, she said, looking down. My office had a team event nearby. She looked at me again. You look good. Thanks, you too. Another pause. She glanced out the window. I've thought about texting you more times than I can count. I know how that feels, I said quietly. She looked at me, really looked, and her eyes hadn't changed, still sharp, still full of that quiet depth that made me feel seen. I meant everything I said back then, she continued softly. I don't regret any of it. Neither do I replied. She leaned in slightly, her voice even quieter. I still don't. Ara. I shifted in my seat, leaning back, unsure what to say. Because seeing her again brought it all back, not just the attraction, not just the heat, but the connection that never really went away. How's everything, I asked. At home, I mean. She smiled, but not with her eyes. The same. Maybe worse, I nodded slowly. And Austin? She asked it almost like she felt guilty for bringing him up. He's still clueless. Mentions you sometimes, asks what you're up to. That hit harder than I expected. I looked away. Yeah, I think about him too. She reached into her coat pocket, pulled out her phone, hesitated. Then slid it across the table. There was a message on the screen, typed but unsent. Nobody's home tomorrow. I stared at it not out of fear, but from a deeper place, recognition, memory, want. I've tried to move on, she said, barely above a whisper. Tried to forget you, us. But it's still there, Alex. I don't think it ever left. I looked her in the eyes. Same here. We sat there, cold coffee, in front of us, the world moving around us. But in that moment, it felt like time stopped it again. It's like before then, I said, if we go down this road again, we can't lie to ourselves. We never did, she replied. That's what made it real. I didn't sleep that night. I paced my apartment looking for a reason to stop, some sign. But at 11 at night, my phone buzzed. It was her, tomorrow noon. I didn't reply, but I went. When she opened the door, she was in a plain sweater and pants, no makeup, hair loose. She didn't say anything, just gave me a look. I stepped inside. She closed the door behind me, and with that, we were back. No big speeches, no made-up dreams, just two people who'd tried to let go and maybe never really wanted to. The story of Alex and Carolyn offers a poignant lesson about the complexities of human desire and the consequences of our choices. It teaches us that genuine connections can emerge unexpectedly, often in moments of vulnerability, but they come with a weight that demands honesty and accountability. Carolyn's longing to feel alive again, and Alex's willingness to explore that connection reveal the universal need to be seen and valued, yet their secrecy underscores the cost of crossing boundaries, especially when trust like Austin's is at stake. This narrative reminds us to tread carefully when our hearts pull us towards something forbidden, as the thrill of the moment can lead to lasting emotional ripples. It challenges us to weigh our desires against the potential harm to others and ourselves, urging us to seek authenticity without sacrificing integrity. Their bittersweet reunion shows that true feelings don't easily fade, but moving forward requires confronting the reality of our actions. This story resonates because it captures the raw, messy truth of human relationships, love and longing tangled with guilt and fear. Have you ever faced a moment where your heart led you somewhere your head knew was risky? Share your experiences in the comments. We'd love to hear how you navigated those emotions. If this story moved you, hit that subscribe button and join our community for more gripping tales that dive deep into the heart of life's choices. Let's keep exploring these powerful lessons together and spark meaningful conversations.